Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching the video today. I really do appreciate it. And for those of you that have hit the subscribe button, a special thank you to you. Your support means more to me than you could possibly know. So thank you all so very, very much. Today, I'm super excited to have a guest on with me. This is the first time he's been on my channel, Aaron from A and B Horror Movies. Aaron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. This is going to be a lot of
No,
fun.
thank you for coming. And yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead and plug your channel and tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the co-host of A and B Horror Movies. You can find us on YouTube. My co-host and I talk about our love for films, our physical media collections, our collectibles, and most recently, our channel has sort of evolved into having guests on. So I've started doing interviews with directors, writers, actors, producers, all to talk about the movies that they've created. So it's been quite a blast, to be honest. You can also
Yeah,
find us on Instagram at AB Horror Movies, and I'm also at Aaron's Movies 8587.
very cool. Yeah, I really that's so cool that you're getting to do the interviews and stuff now. And you and I have only briefly got to kind of meet once on Our Life in Horror with Brendan and Sam. They had both of us
Yes.
on. I don't even remember what we were talking about now, do you?
No, it was multiple movies, like trailers.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, there was
trailer responses, right? Go ahead.
yeah, I think so. Just kind of a maybe some horror news stuff like that. I don't think we had one
Mhm.
particular topic. It was just a lot of different stuff. So,
Yeah, it
but
was a
yeah,
lot of fun.
very cool, and I've really enjoyed your channel. I try to check stuff out as much as I can and your posts and stuff. So good stuff.
Thanks,
Definitely.
man. Vice
Um,
versa.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm sure anybody that follows me because mine's still growing. But if you don't follow Aaron already, go give him a follow. Some really good stuff there. So today, Aaron and I are going to be talking about. Rosemary's Baby, and we were just discussing for a moment that this was a first time watch for me. I don't know how, because I've heard all about this movie and I know it's a classic. It was one that I just kept planning on getting to and never did until recently.
Mhm.
And the way that I pick my movies, so I've got a list of gosh, 400 or 500 horror movies in my computer. And so
Mhm.
I'll just copy it and then I paste it on this website called random.org and hit the button and it puts them in a random order for me. And that's how I choose which ones I'm going to do coming up for a few episodes. And this was at the
Mhm.
top of the list. And I was like, oh, wow, I better get on it then. So I ordered it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
4K and then just watched it a couple of days ago. Um, you've seen it several times. I know you mentioned to me. Do you remember when you saw it the first time and what your initial reaction was?
Gosh, I think I was first exposed to it as a kid. The problem with Rosemary's Baby is that it's a slow burn and
Mhm.
it takes its time. Um,
Right.
if you stick with it, it's a fantastic film. Like I said, I think I was first exposed to it as a kid, probably in the 80s. Um, I'm guessing I did not have the attention span that this film requires, but I
Okay.
certainly have watched it in its entirety as an adult multiple times, and I'm a big fan. It's a classic, Roman Polanski's classic, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so what's funny is, and I was going to ask you another question here
Mhm.
in a minute, but
Yeah, yeah,
um, typically I struggle with slow burns. I'm primarily a slasher guy. I love slashers.
sure,
I'm also a huge fan of the
makes
Universal
sense.
monster movies because that's what got me started was Universal monsters way back in the day.
Oh, awesome.
But then I like
Mhm.
other stuff as well. I just tend to struggle most of the time with slow burns.
Mm.
They don't catch me, and I end up, you know, turning it off after 30 minutes or so if something hasn't really got my attention.
Yes,
But this one did just enough to keep me. It is a slow
yeah.
burn. It takes a while getting going, but it did just enough to keep me interested. So I didn't have a
Mhm.
problem finishing it. So that was I thought was cool. Um, since this is your first time on my channel, before we get into the movie, one more thing I want to ask
Okay.
you. So, uh, what got you into horror? Like, have you always been a horror fanatic, or what got you into horror?
Gosh, that's an amazing question. Yeah, as long as I can remember, I've always been a big fan of horror movies. First horror movie I ever watched was probably The Exorcist, but I don't know. It's a little fuzzy. Um,
Okay.
I know I loved the Michael Jackson Thriller video, but it also
Okay.
scared me at the same time, and I
Yeah.
loved that. And then, of course, I was big into Friday the 13th, all the Friday the 13th films. My buddies and I would debate on the playground at elementary school and talking about, you know, did Jason die? What's going to come in the next Friday the 13th? So
Right.
I loved all the Nightmare on Elm Street films too, but those came a little bit later, and by
Sure.
then I'm aging myself a little bit here. By then I was like in middle school,
Hey,
so we weren't on the playground anymore. But I certainly loved all those films too.
right. Right.
So
Okay.
yeah,
No,
I
very
guess
cool.
yeah, that's what I would say.
It's just kind of always been there. See, for me, and I
How
told
about
Brendan and
you?
Sam
Yeah, that's fine.
this,
Yeah.
it's been a process for me actually because as a kid, I did not like scary movies. Everything
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
terrified me. My dad watched
Oh,
them some. He wasn't obsessed, but he watched them a little bit. I had an aunt that
mhm,
really liked them. And
mhm.
so she would watch them, but she was also a huge fan of the Universal monsters. And so as a kid, I would watch those. They
Yes.
didn't scare me, but I really liked them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
They're
I,
so
I
good, right?
watched those with her. But anytime, I remember seeing part of Friday the 13th 2. It terrified me. I never wanted to go camping ever because of Friday the 13th. I
Yeah.
saw part of the original Halloween and hoped that my parents never hired a babysitter. Like as a kid, absolutely
Oh my
everything was
God. Yes.
terrifying me.
Yes.
But
When a
but I had
stranger
friends at
calls. Yeah,
school
yeah.
that liked them. I mean, I had friends at school that would talk about stuff, and I knew my dad liked them, so I wanted to like them, but it just took some
Mhm.
time. And I remember the first horror movie, not counting Universal Monsters, that I watched all the way through from beginning to end by myself, was the original My Bloody Valentine.
Oh,
And
so good.
so,
Yeah.
I had seen part of it. My parents were watching it one night, and I saw a little bit of it, and I was like, "Nope, not watching this." But later that night, I was the only one up.
Mhm.
It was like a weekend. We had HBO, and My Bloody Valentine was coming on, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yes.
I am going to make myself watch this movie." And so I did, and I absolutely loved it. And it just seemed to change something. And then I started going back and watching
Yeah,
Friday
yeah,
the
sure.
13th and Halloween and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And then later, Elm Street and Child's Play, and really started becoming a bigger fan. And then in the late
Mhm.
90s, uh, when Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, that changed it for me. That's when horror became my favorite genre of movies. That just took it to the next
Yes.
level. So
Yes.
yeah, that's where mine came. It was a
Yeah.
slow
Oh, that's
process, but I
awesome.
got there.
And you got there. And well, I mean, the 90s kind of struggled with horror in the early 90s, and then Scream
Yeah,
resurrected horror and brought horror back to the forefront,
right.
thankfully.
I completely agree.
But yeah, yeah. Awesome. I'm glad you've come around to horror.
Yes. Took a minute, but I got there. All right. Well, we'll get started. I'm going to read a brief synopsis for the film. Most people, I'm
Okay.
sure, that are watching this already know what Rosemary's Baby's about, but this is just kind of what I do. And then I'll go over a few facts about the movie, mention the cast, and then we'll get started. So, Rosemary's Baby, a young wife seems to believe that her offspring is not of this world. Rosemary Woodhouse and her struggling actor husband Guy move to a New York City apartment building with an ominous reputation and odd neighbors. When Rosemary becomes pregnant, she becomes increasingly isolated, and the diabolical truth is revealed only after she gives birth. Brief synopsis, therefore, of Rosemary's Baby. The film was released June 12th of 1968, directed by Roman Polansky, screenplay by Roman Polansky, based on the book Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin, produced by William Castle, cinematography by William A. Frager, edited by Sam Osteen and Bob Wyman, music by Christoph Komita. The production company was William Castle Enterprises, distributed by Paramount Pictures. Runtime of 137 minutes. Budget of 3.2 million, but the box office was 33.4 million, so huge success. Also high ratings. Rotten Tomatoes 97% on the critic score, 87% on the audience, and the IMDb score is 8 out of 10. So very positive all the way around. And one thing that I just kind of picked up on, I saw this on Rotten Tomatoes, but just kind of the overall critics consensus of the film says that it's a frightening tale of Satanism and pregnancy that is even more disturbing than it sounds, thanks to convincing and committed performances by Mia Farrow and Ruth Gordon. Um, I'm going to mention the cast real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about the performances in general, and then kind of get into the film. So, uh,
Yeah,
Mia
sure.
Farrow as Rosemary Woodhouse, John Cassavetes as Guy Woodhouse, Ruth Gordon as Minnie Castevet, Sidney Blackmer as Roman Castevet, Maurice Evans as Hutch, Ralph Bellamy as Dr.
Mhm.
Abraham Saperstein, Angela Dorian as Terry, Charles Grodin as Dr. Hill, Philip Leeds as Dr. Shand. Um, yeah, we'll go ahead there and talk a little bit about the performances. What are your thoughts on the performances in this film? Anybody stand out more than anyone else? Did you think everyone overall does a good job? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think everyone overall does a really nice job. I think Mia Farrow's fantastic, and this was like the role of a lifetime for her. I think she's stunning in this movie. And if you really pay attention to like her evolution, it's shocking, because in the the first act she's vibrant, full of life, and then there's sort of like a zombie phase. And I know there's makeup
Yeah,
and everything, but she looks so gaunt and almost like near death. Um, and then she starts to come out of that a little bit in the final act, and then of course things go very very wrong for her. So yeah, I think Mia Farrow stands out in this one, but everyone gives a knockout performance. The elderly couple, I know you just said their names, but I forget. And her husband, what's his first name? You just said all this
uh,
too. Oh my God, it's already
the
left me.
actor's name is Sidney Blackmer. Roman, Roman and Minnie are the characters' names.
Yes, but her husband is
Oh, her
Castavets,
husband,
right?
yeah, John
Uh,
Cassavetes is what it looks like. His guy.
yes, John Cassavetes. Yes, I mean he's awesome too, and he's been in so many other films.
Mhm.
He died very young, unfortunately. Um, but But yeah, that's what I would say. My take. I think Mia Farrow stands out of everyone in the movie.
I agree. I think everybody did give really solid performances, and I agree. I would say probably her and then Ruth Gordon
Mhm.
as Minnie were probably the two I think that stood out the most. But I really did feel like
Yes.
everybody did a fantastic job. And one of the things you mentioned that I was going to elaborate on a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and mention it now, is you were talking about the way
Mhm.
her character evolved through the movie, and as I was watching the movie, I even felt like the movie has so many tones itself that seem to shift as it goes along with her character, because even
Yes.
at the beginning when they first get this apartment and they're talking, there's a
Mhm.
scene there where they're sitting there on the floor having dinner, and she's so full of energy, he seems happy, just it seems so
Mhm.
light, and it's not what I was expecting, having everything that I'd heard about this film. I'm like, this movie just seems so light and happy, like I don't this is
Yes.
not what I thought Rosemary's Baby was. But then you get that tonal shift, and then a little bit later you get another tonal shift, and I think the shift of the movie just it mirrors the way her character changes throughout it as well.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup. That sort of happy, almost like newlywed, new apartment. The whole future is ahead of them, right?
Right.
It's a great way to set up the rest of the movie.
We mentioned Ruth Gordon, who played Minnie there. She won both an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress. um,
Mm.
I was going to ask you, so apparently there was a film called Apartment 7A that was a 2024 prequel. Have you ever seen that?
I know of it, but I have not watched it.
I
I
have
have
not
not
either,
watched it.
and
Have you? No.
I have not. In fact, I didn't even know it existed. I had made a post on social media about watching this film, and
Mhm.
someone commented on one of my social media channels and mentioned this movie to me and told me I should check it out. I didn't even know it existed. And then when I was researching stuff about this, it looks like it deals more with the character of Terry, the girl she meets down there when they're doing laundry. And it kind
Yes.
of deals with her and her backstory a little bit. But
Yeah,
I mean, it
Victoria
sounds interesting.
Vetri. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. I heard mixed reviews on it, which is why I haven't rushed to see it. But
Okay.
I know it is out and it's streaming. And even Terry, let's see, Angela Dorian,
Yes.
um, was fantastic in the,
Yeah,
not a
absolutely.
lot of screen time, but it's our first introduction to the good luck charm, which we later come to find out it's not really a good luck charm.
Right. Yeah, and I really thought, again, never having seen this movie, I
Mhm.
kind of liked the dynamic between Rosemary and Terry that was playing out there. And again, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to go somewhere. This girl's going to be an important part of this story as we go. And then,
Yes.
just very briefly after you get her introduction, um, she's dead. She's committed
Mhm,
suicide,
mhm.
so yeah, there were a lot of things that were
But did
kind of
she
throwing me off
did
a
she
little bit.
commit
Did
suicide?
she commit? Yeah, it's a good question.
Likely not, but yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder
yeah,
why. What's the maybe if we watch the new movie, we'll get some of the backstory on what
yeah, could
happened.
be.
Yeah, what
I
happened to
also
Terry.
saw that Alfred
Mhm.
Hitchcock was offered chance to direct the film, but had declined. I did not know that.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and that
I don't know if I knew that.
Robert Redford and Jack Nicholson were actually considered for the role of Guy. Um, I not that John Cassavetes does a bad job, but I'm really curious about Jack Nicholson as Guy. That would have been very interesting, I think.
Oh, gosh, I don't know if I knew that. Don't you think Jack Nicholson though would have overshadowed Mia Farrow?
That could be,
And
yeah.
I,
He might would have been, and again, not that John Cassavetes did a bad job, but Jack Nicholson might have been too much.
yes, and John Cassavetes kind of plays it. I mean, he's an actor, right? He's an aspiring
Right,
actor, but he plays it almost like a weak husband. Um,
right,
and so then like the big reveal when you find out what he's done, it's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, right?
right.
Mm,
Um, Only other behind the scenes thing I'll mention, and then we'll kind of start walking through this a little bit. But I saw
mhm,
that the film went 400,000 over budget. But
mm,
obviously it did so well that that was fine. But I also saw that Mia Farrow was served divorce papers on the set from her husband, who was Frank Sinatra at the time. And she almost left the film, but Polanski managed to convince her to stay, letting her know that she would at least be nominated for awards based on this film. And so
mm.
he talked her into staying. Apparently, Sinatra
Oh,
did not
thank God.
want her to continue her acting career once they got married. And then when she took this role, he was very upset. So another little interesting behind the scenes tidbit there that I found when I was researching
Wow.
this.
Sounds like it was doomed from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the film, their marriage.
Yes. All right. So yeah, opening of the film I thought was good. Like I said, we kind of got
Mhm.
that the happy feeling that they get, they're moving in, they're excited. Um, they do kind
Yeah.
of find out about some odd behavior from the previous tenant, and they kind of get some warnings from their friend Hutch. But yeah, I thought it was a good opening. I liked the way everything played out, and it definitely got my attention.
And and I just want to, can I just jump in? I love that
Sure.
scene before they actually move in. They're with Hutch, right? They're having dinner with him, and
Yes.
he gives them like there's the foreshadowing there is fantastic because
Yeah.
he starts talking about the history of the building they're moving into, and they're so excited about the apartment that they just sort of brush it off and don't think anything
Right.
of it. But cinematically and from like a story art perspective, I thought that was a really nice touch, and it worked so well,
Yeah.
especially rewatching it because you know what's to come.
Right. Yeah, I can see that now. I'm kind of I kind of want to go back and rewatch it now. Having seen it that first time, I'm sure there were things, that I probably missed a little bit here and there. I did catch what
Mhm,
you were talking about, but um there were so many things that kind of caught me off guard a little bit seeing this for the first time that I would like
mhm.
to go back and watch it again now just to see what my overall thoughts are seeing it a second time. Um
Yes, yeah.
and then
I
we
I
talked.
try to watch it every October leading up to Halloween.
Do
It's
you?
always
Okay, so this is every year
on
watch
my
for you then.
list. Yes, yeah.
Okay,
I did rewatch it in anticipation of this, so I'm
very
off
cool.
schedule a little bit, but yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and then I was gonna. You already mentioned something. So the next thing we get, she meets Terry down there, and they have their little conversation while they're doing the laundry. And Terry mentions being a drug addict, and that the
Mhm.
cast of vets helped her out. And then we followed that up with her possible suicide. That was going to be my next question for you, and you already mentioned it was: do you think that she actually did commit suicide, or do you think there was more going on there?
Well, there was more going on. That was so
Yeah,
staged, right? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. It was pretty
Um,
obvious, I guess.
but the unknown around it is what's most intriguing, I think, about her death. Um, I haven't read the book, but maybe the book gives more of a backstory. I'm not sure.
I haven't either, and I actually thought about it, but I didn't get to it before I started getting
Mhm,
ready for this. And I agree. As you see the whole movie, yeah, I don't believe it was a suicide. But at the time, with this being a first time watch for me, I bought it. I mean, I was like,
of course. Yeah, yeah.
okay, and I know she mentioned she had a you know drug uh, drug addiction and that kind of thing in her past, and
Yes.
even when Rosemary and her husband are talking to the cast of vets, they mentioned that sometimes she was very sad, and I bought it. I'm like, okay, well that's not where I thought the movie was going. I thought she was going to be
Mhm.
a big character, but yeah, okay, I can see this happening. So um, after now seeing the whole movie, I'm like, why did I think that? That's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
obvious.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is rewatch that one scene, like when they find her dead on the sidewalk with the
Mhm.
old couple, the Castavets when they walk up. It's so interesting to view their performance now that you know what happens and who they really are and what they're about, um, because it
Right.
really makes you think about their performance in that
Yeah.
moment. Mhm.
Yeah. That's a good point. As you said that, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's an acting job they were pulling off there, and I'm
Oh,
not
for
sure if it
sure.
was really
Yes.
that convincing either. But
No,
yeah.
no, it's not, right. No, it's not. In fact, when they meet, Rosemary and then she and her husband walk away, um, Minnie hugs her husband, and it almost looks like she's looking over her husband's shoulder at Mia Farrow at,
Oh, okay.
Rosemary walking off. I don't know for sure, but I'd like to think that that's what's happening.
You might be right there. Yeah, that's something then that I'll have to definitely check for in the rewatch because that part I did miss. Interesting. Okay.
Yes, and I'm sure there
Um,
are more more experts out there on this film than
sure.
we are, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about Guy. So we mentioned the
Mhm,
performance. We thought, the actor did a great job. But I will say it again. I keep mentioning it. This being a first time watch for me, I didn't know what the husband's role. I knew the basics of the movie, but I didn't know the husband's role. Um,
mhm,
I was pretty suspicious of him from the get go, to be completely honest with you. I thought there was just something
mhm,
there that seemed off about him. Other than those first couple of scenes where they appear to be that perfectly happy couple, it doesn't
yes,
take long for something about him to change. And I felt like
mhm.
all the way through the movie, I was thinking that he had something to do with this. Did you feel the same way, or did that kind of surprise you when you saw it the first time, if you
Gosh.
remember?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I was surprised. There's so many obvious signs though when you rewatch it now. Of course,
Yeah,
knowing what's coming, you know, I mean, I don't think we can spoil this movie. It's been out for over 50 years.
sure.
Um, you sort of start to see the signs that he's involved, especially that one scene when she's like, "I'm going to see another doctor," and he gets
Right.
so angry,
He
and
does.
even she's like, "Why are you so mad?" Or when she says, "I'm not drinking that drink anymore," and he like flips out. Um,
Yeah. Well, and he does it. I made
so
a note here that he even does it with that chocolate mousse that she brings him. That's the first time I believe that he actually ends up freaking out on her when she doesn't
yes,
wanna eat
the
that.
chalky
He
tape.
gets so
Yeah,
angry so
yeah,
fast, and I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
what is this all about?" So,
yes,
yeah, I
yes.
I kinda
Oh,
suspected something
oh,
was up with him pretty early on.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, same here.
And then, then we get to the scene, where you wonder if she's having a dream or it's really going on. But I felt like for 1968, that scene where she's basically ends up being, raped by Satan,
Mhm.
that's pretty intense, even for a 1968 film.
Oh,
Like
it's
it was
incredible.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's incredible the way that they edited it together, the sound, the
Yeah.
lighting. It looks amazing. It holds up so well. It's
It
probably one
really
of my
does.
favorite moments. One of my
It
favorite
uh
moments in the
it
film.
it shocked me because I was thinking, again, I knew
Mhm,
the basic premise of the film. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting just I don't know
yeah.
the word I'm
Oh,
looking for. I
yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't expecting it to have that effect, for it to just come out and be so
Mhm.
uncomfortable, but yet at the same time almost mesmerizing. At the same way, it was such a great scene, but I was like,
Yes.
damn, this movie went there. Like
It's
it really did go
it's
there.
powerful. My God, yeah, and
Yeah.
they're like drawing on her, and then I
Yes.
mean, even her husband guy is like she's awake, and they're like, no, no, because they think she ate the whole moose, right? And but she
Right.
didn't. And then when she says this is real, oh my God, this is really happening. It's just
Yeah.
so powerful. It
It really is. It's
gives
kinda
you chills.
terrifying, actually. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, very powerful scene, and
And
definitely,
then when she wakes up, yeah, go ahead.
no, you're good. Yeah, she wakes up and she's got the
Yeah,
scratches on her. Yeah.
yeah, and he's like, oh, we ended up. doing it last night anyway. I couldn't resist. And she's like, you couldn't wait till I was conscious. Oh
Yeah,
my
another
god.
huge red flag from him, and I think he says something about he trimmed
Mhm.
his nails after that happened or something, but I'm just like,
Yes,
"Wow,
yes.
this
And
guy's that
doesn't he
scene's incredible, and this guy's a piece of work."
absolutely. Doesn't he say it was a little bit like necrophilia or something? It was like,
Yes,
"What?"
yeah,
And
very
she's just like,
yeah,
"Okay, let's have breakfast." I mean, I joke. She
yeah,
does seem very traumatized by the
she
experience,
really
so
does, but that's just I don't
mhm.
know, that scene was crazy to me, even like you said, when she wakes up and she's realizing, the scratches and the way her
Yeah,
husband's
yeah.
reacting, just even that continued with the it was still uncomfortable a little bit, just the way he was
Yes.
reacting
Yeah.
to her and that kinda thing, so yeah.
And he
Um,
seems really antsy, like he just wants to get out of the room and move on, like,
yeah,
"Let's not talk about
yeah,
this anymore."
right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
completely agree. And then, of course, she does
Mm,
find out she's pregnant, and we start to get the dealings with the doctor, Saperstein, her
Saperstein,
health
yes.
her health going down. She's having these pains all the time, and he just keeps telling her it's gonna go away. Um, her friends are worried about
Yeah.
her when they come across and see her. And again, her husband can't stand her friends.
Her
You
true
get
friends,
right.
not the neighbors, right?
Yeah. Hutch comes to see her, and of course,
Mhm,
your Mr. Castavett shows up while Hutch is there, and you kind of got some stuff going on there. But I think this is really where Mia Farrow's performance impressed me the most, just how well she did these scenes where she is so sick. And again, like you said, there's makeup and
mhm.
stuff going on, but I thought she just did such an outstanding job of uh, portraying that part of the film. Um, and
Absolutely.
again, by now I was not only was I suspicious of the husband, but the neighbors, I knew something was up with them. You kind of start to figure out what's going on by now. Like it's coming clear, but it
Something,
was still
yes.
holding my attention. Yeah, I was the way I think everything was revealed very well. Just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and you start suspecting some things, and then you're like, yeah, okay, I see where what's happening here. Um, Again,
Yes, you
Saperstein being the way he was.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, go ahead with what you were going to say.
It's I was just gonna say, it's almost like you experience it along with her. So as
Yes.
she starts to find out things, the audience is discovering it at the same time, and I think that's what works so well with this film. Um,
Yeah, I think so too.
and
I agree
just
with
to
you.
yeah, absolutely. Just to reiterate what you were saying, in the beginning, she's so vibrant, full of life, and then it's like Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
I would yes, I mean, there's makeup, right, like we said, but it's almost like she lost weight. She obviously had a different hairstyle too, so that made her look more zombie-like. And
Yeah.
people are so mean to her. They're like, "You
I
look
know.
terrible.
I
That's the
know.
worst haircut I've ever seen." And she's like, "But it's Vidal Sassoon." And everyone's like, "But it looks
Yes.
awful." I'm like, "They're so
Yeah.
mean." Right? Oh my
Yeah,
god. I mean,
everybody was pretty rough.
I guess, yeah, I guess in the '60s, people just said it like it is,
I
not
guess
like
so.
now. It's someone walks in with the worst haircut ever, you still tell them it looks nice,
Yeah, absolutely.
or that's interesting. I don't know, not like, "It looks terrible." Even her friends show up, they're like, "What did you do? It looks horrible." I'm like, "Oh
Yes.
my god."
Yeah.
Poor
But I agree
Rosemary.
with what you were saying. I think you do. You
Mhm.
experience it with her from even the stages where she's just
Yes.
you're beginning to figure it out and kind of suspect things at the same time
Mhm.
she is. She's starting to suspect things,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, and then once it comes clear and she finds out, you're finding out too, and yeah, it really is like you're going through this with her, all of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that's a tribute to one, just probably how well it was put together and how well it was written, but again, her performance just being fantastic
Yes, I
for
mean,
this.
even the birth, like, that's the whole birth process
Yes,
is a very solitary and individual experience, but you don't see it. So, again,
right.
it's like the audience is experiencing it with her because she just wakes up and she's like, "Oh my god, where's my baby?"
Yes,
Right?
yeah. I will say I did not expect. Well, we know
Mhm.
Hutch ends up dying. He falls into this coma. He ends up dying, but he sends her this book, which she's reading it and doing some research, and it's really confirming her suspicions. And you get more of a
Yeah.
clear picture of the husband's involvement when he doesn't want her to read the book anymore and ends up throwing it away.
Mhm.
One of the things here, though, that did shock me is I did not expect, and I don't know why, but I did not expect Dr. Hill. to
Oh,
kind of
yes.
turn on her there when she finally goes to see him, and he's letting her
Yeah.
rest, and you think is going to help her.
Mhm.
I really didn't. I suspected they would come get her, but I didn't think it would be because of him. That kind
Yes.
of thing. So that threw
Yeah,
me off.
excellent
I did not see
excellent
that
point.
coming.
Well, my question for you is, do you think Dr. Hill was really in on it with all of them, or if he just did he think she was, having a mental breakdown, and so he called her husband because of
I
that?
I don't think that he was in on it. I
Mhm.
think that
I
he
think that's
seemed
right,
to
yeah,
have
I
such
guess.
a reverence for Dr. Saperstein.
Yes.
I think it was because of the opinion. He seemed to really hold him in a high regard, and I think because of that
Mhm.
opinion that he had of him, he thought this woman was losing her mind. If she would have mentioned
Yeah.
some other doctor that he didn't know who they were, maybe he
Mhm.
would have
Mhm.
believed her a little bit, or at least given her the benefit of the doubt and looked into some things. But it almost seemed like
Yeah.
as soon as she mentioned Saperstein, he's like, no, not this guy. So and
Yeah, yeah.
made the phone
I'm
call.
just gonna
So
make a phone call and
yeah,
settle this. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think he was in on everything else. I think it was just because of the like I
Yeah,
said,
I
the
think you're
the
right.
reference he
I
had
think
of
you're right.
Saperstein.
So, just
Yeah,
bad luck for her.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, and then, like you said, we get to the birth. She doesn't even know. She just wakes up, and of course, they're
I
trying to
keep
convince her
jumping
that
ahead, I keep stealing
no,
your
you're
moment.
perfectly fine. But yeah, they keep telling her the baby's dead, but she hears crying, and she finds out they're still using her breast
Yeah.
milk, that kind of thing. So, um,
Mhm.
a lot going on there. Now, I will say, and I don't want this to make it sound like I didn't enjoy the movie though, but as long as this film is, and I
Mhm.
mentioned that I sometimes struggle with slow burns. Right about
Mhm.
here in the film, I was because I had really enjoyed everything so much, and then as we're getting to this part where they're basically just trying to hide it from her, I almost let this part drug just a little bit, um,
Mhm.
because the movie's
Yeah.
so long. So right here a little bit, I was like, "Okay, how long are we gonna do this? Let's not try to hide it from her for long, because this is now I've been watching this for
Yes.
almost 2 hours now. Let's do something else here. It's been so good. Why are we stopping now?" It's kinda how I felt watching this.
Yeah. That's an interesting point. It does drag a little bit there because, up until that point, it's sort of building, 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 and then it's
Right.
almost it plateaus. It kind of at that
Yes.
point because the baby's born, the baby's dead. I mean, they certainly don't do a good job of hiding that baby if she can hear it
Right.
crying in the next room. Um,
Right.
a- and the whole thing with like the spoon and the breast milk, and she's like, "No, no, don't
Yes.
do that."
Yeah.
Yeah, so some obvious things there, but I don't know if they had cut that out and, like, rushed into the room, like, when she goes in to see her baby.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to think about
It
that
might
a
would have
little bit
taken
more, but
away from that.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I think because it's the buildup has stopped at that
Right.
point.
And I think that's what
Right.
was bothering me about it, but I do see your point because, yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like we were having this great buildup and you were experiencing all of this with her,
Mhm,
and then we just
mhm.
kinda level off before we hit the big finish. And I think that level off was bothering me a little bit, but like you just said, had they have cut that off and she would have just immediately gone into the room, it might would have taken away from some of that a little bit. So you may have needed that level then to give your big
Yes.
reveal at the end. So, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and we get to see her grief a little bit, and then she
Sure.
starts to well, she hears the baby crying, it's like, "Come on."
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I hear where you're coming from.
But yeah, then she does, she finally, she this hidden door in the linen closet that had kind of been referenced from time to time all throughout the movie. Stuff's getting put in front of the linen closet. It's building that part up as well. And she finally moons
Mhm.
everything and goes through this linen closet, finds this coven, discovers that her baby's alive. Um, did you want to she's shocked when she sees the baby and she's asking, what they've done. I think her initial question is, what did you do to its eyes? But then they start talking
Yes.
about hands and feet and everything in the baby, but you don't actually see it. Did you want to see it, or were you glad they didn't show it?
No, I love it. I love the way they've done it, right?
Yeah, I
It's the
thought so
classic
too.
of what you don't see is scariest.
Yeah, I
If
completely
they'd
agree. I think
showed
it.
like a fake baby with green eyes or something, or red eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have probably taken away. I agree a little bit. I remember, I was watching it, I was thinking, "Are they gonna show it? Are they gonna show it?" But I'm really glad they didn't,
Mhm. Yes.
that
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
And that moment where she she sees it and looks away and like covers her mouth, it's like iconic.
Yes, it
Um,
really is.
what a performance. Her
Yeah,
eyes, like they look like her eyes alone look like they're going to pop out.
yeah,
I
I
love that. I
completely
love that
agree.
moment. It's
No, I agree with you 100%. It is such a great scene, and so, um, I changed things up beginning with this episode.
yeah.
In all my previous episodes, I've done after my introduction, I have the trailer for the film that plays,
Mm,
and then I come on and do this. But beginning with this film, I decided to stop putting the full trailer on my videos, and I just go cut a scene from the movie, just
okay.
30 to 40 seconds, and that's the
Mhm,
scene that I selected. So this will, you and I are recording this on May 6th. That will actually come out Monday is when this one will release on my YouTube. But
okay, cool.
that scene is what this will open up with is that scene where she sees the baby and steps back with the hand over the mouth because I absolutely love that as
Yes.
well. So that's why I
Yeah.
cut that one to put on this.
Awesome. Awesome. Good choice.
Yeah, such a great scene.
Yes.
Um, and then of course, they're kind of telling her what's going on. Mr. Castavets is trying to get her to go ahead and be a mother, and
Mhm,
initially you think she's going to not go for it, and then at the end, it seems like she decides to go ahead and be a
mhm.
mother. Um,
Yes.
what were your thoughts there? Was it disappointing to you for her to cave, or do you think that's what would? I mean, being a mother is what was most important, so it's
No, I like
understandable.
it. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, what's the other option? She like kills
Right.
the baby.
Yeah.
That would be horrific. Um, I don't know. I like it because she sees the baby. She has this moment of like utter horror. Um, goes into like a shock mode, right? When she's like sitting down and just sort of processing everything that's happening in the room,
Right.
and then starts to come around. And I think the baby's cries and seeing this woman like furiously shake the crib, I think
Right.
that's what sort of knocks her into it's like her maternal instinct comes out and she
Yes.
can't help herself. Even though she's horrified, she can't help but be drawn to this baby who just
Right.
happens to be the Antichrist and Satan's son. So
Yeah. Yeah.
small detail, right? Right.
Right.
I
Yeah.
wonder. I'd love to know like first baby's first steps. What's the favorite food?
Yes. No,
Mashed
and
green peas, like The Exorcist.
right, that could be it. No,
Yes. Yeah.
and I think I agree with you because initially,
Mhm.
again, watching this for the first time, when I
Yeah.
see that those maternal instincts have kicked in and she's going to be, try to be the mother to the
Mhm.
baby, um, I think I just felt bad for her. I think it's more of what we've talked about through this whole thing is you're going through this with her because she's
Yes.
giving such a great performance right there as well. And so I
Mhm.
just hate for her that this is what it's come to. But at the same time, I think it's the best way to end it for those maternal
Yes.
instincts to kick in and her to
Yes.
want to still take care of her baby regardless of where it came from.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just more of
That's a
feeling
perfect
bad
ending.
for her,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
Agreed.
yeah. That's what a lot of the film is going through it with her and feeling horrible for her, and you just get, one more huge dose at the end of
Yes.
feeling
Yes.
terrible for what she's gone through.
And I think that's what's most effective about not showing the baby, just hearing the baby's cries, because the other people are describing his feet. I can only imagine they're like hooves or something.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just a really nice technique from a film perspective,
right.
movie magic. I guess not movie magic because they don't show anything. I don't know. I think it's a perfect ending. I think it works. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and like you said, sometimes what you don't see is scarier.
Mhm.
Especially, one of the things I think has happened to me is as I've gotten older, I'll be 50, I'm 52, I'll be 53 in 2 days.
Oh,
So
happy birthday.
thank you. But as I'm really noticing the older I get,
Mhm.
the the greater appreciation I have for some of these older films. And
Yep.
part of it is things like that because unfortunately, and there's still a lot of great movies out there that are coming out. I'm not saying that we don't still get some great stuff, but
Mhm.
you don't get as much of the unseen nowadays as what you got back in these times. And
Yes.
guys like Hitchcock and Polanski were so good at giving
Mhm.
you terrifying unseen that's a
Yes.
little bit better than sometimes seeing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, look at the Blair Witch Project. You don't see the
Right.
Blair Witch at all, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Blair Witch, which let's not talk about part two, but the Blair Witch, the third one.
Yeah.
Um, I think I mean, I enjoy it, but I think one of the misses there is that you see too much
Right.
at the end.
Yeah.
They should have stayed away from showing as much as they did. So
No,
that's
I completely agree with you. And you know, not to get off and get on a totally different movie, but just another example of that to me is for the
Mhm,
longest time, Black Christmas that came out in 1974. I saw it. I thought it was okay. I
mhm.
For the longest time, I enjoyed the remake from 2006 more. I don't know why.
That's fine.
I
I like
think
that one
yeah,
too.
I thought it was more fun. I think that's a good way to put it. To me, it was just more fun because that original is so
Yeah.
dark. And so I
Mhm,
think I enjoyed the remake more because it was fun. It was just
mhm,
more fun.
mhm. Yeah.
But now, just this year, I rewatched well, I'm sorry, last year, rewatched around the holidays, like I always do, that original Black Christmas, and I felt
Mhm.
that starting to change because in the 2006 remake, you see Billy and Agnes so much, but you don't
Yeah.
see him as much in that original, and it's
Mhm.
more terrifying. Like it's just better.
Oh,
And so my
absolutely.
opinion
Yeah.
has shifted on that movie, and that just to back up our point that sometimes that unseen is just better. It just works
Of
better
course.
for horror.
And that I mean, the first Black Christmas is one of my all-time favorite films, always in, like,
Yeah,
my top 5, top 10 of all time. Um, that one scene where you
so
see
good.
Billy's eye through the
Yes.
door crack, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I
And Olivia
completely
Hussey,
agree.
Jess's character just kinda looks over and their eyes connect. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Yeah, such a great scene. Yeah, that's
And
one of
the
the movies that I have
screams.
developed such an appreciation for
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
original Black Christmas. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So
Oh, for sure. The screams Billy makes, whether it's on the phone or chasing her down the
yeah.
hallway, it's like blood curdling.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
damn
another
good.
very unsettling feeling listening to it. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get back to this real quick. So, I used to
Okay.
rate movies on a scale of 1 to 5. I have also
Okay.
changed that for this episode. I'm now doing a 1 to 10. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank Rosemary's Baby?
Oh gosh. Let's say maybe 8.
Okay, I think that's fair.
What about you?
I'll be honest, it was a little tough for me because initially, again,
Okay.
this was my first time watch.
Yeah.
So, it being a bit of a slow burn and that not
Mhm.
typically being my thing. And then having the part there where we kind of leveled off at the end and me starting to be like, okay, pick it up a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, uh, when the movie first ended, my initial thought was, okay, that was all right. That wasn't bad. Had some good stuff to it. Little long, drug a little at the end, but that was okay. But after watching it, I just kept thinking about it and
Mhm.
then was doing, some of my research and getting my notes together. And the
Yeah.
more I thought about it, the more I'm like, "Ah, that was better than okay. That was actually pretty good." So,
Mhm.
I think I still wouldn't go quite as high as you. I wouldn't go an 8. Um, but I think I'd give it a 7. I think initially I
Oh,
was
okay.
leaning right
Okay.
around the middle somewhere, 5, 6, something like that.
Mhm.
But I think I would
You're
go
gonna
with the
come in like a
7.
4. I'm like, okay, 7.
No,
That's
no, no, no,
fair.
no, no. Yeah. No, initially I was
Yeah,
really
that's good.
thinking, I'm gonna put it right in the middle, average, okay horror movie. But the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, no, that's better than
Mhm.
average.
Mhm.
That's a good movie. That's a really good
It
movie. So I would
stays
say
with
seven
you.
out of
Yeah.
ten. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Definitely stays with you. And again, just some
Yeah.
of it being so uncomfortable. And we've seen one of the things that for me watching horror movies now that I've been watching them all this time
Mhm.
is you kind of get desensitized to things. I mean, it takes a
Mhm.
lot to scare you and even, you know, bother you a little bit now because we've seen so much. So when I find something that makes me uncomfortable, that's a huge thing. And this movie had some things that made me uncomfortable. So yeah, that was
Agreed.
big for me.
Yeah, and I would say sleep on it. Watch it again in October, um,
Yeah,
from a different perspective now that you've seen it the first time through. It's one of those films that you pick up on things that you didn't miss. However, no matter how many times you've seen it, you'll pick up on things that you missed all those
right,
other times when you watch it through. And it's one of those movies that the older you get, your different perspective in life
right.
applies differently to this film.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so that's my take on it.
Oh, no, I agree. Well, one more question, and then we'll get ready to wrap this up. So let's go back to Terry
Okay.
for a minute,
Yes.
and the whole. So, do you think that they initially wanted her to give birth to Satan's
I think
baby?
that's
And
certainly a theory, maybe.
okay,
Yeah, maybe it didn't work out. The
yeah,
baby
that's what I was wondering. For one
she
reason or
didn't
another,
get
it didn't
pregnant.
happen. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and maybe just the fact that it was more difficult
Or
since she was single, and then when Rosemary and Guy move in, now they've got an
mhm,
actual couple and a husband here as well that they can use and manipulate and work
yes,
something out with. So
yes.
yeah, I
It
just
it
wondered
could
what your thoughts
could
were there.
also be that because she had the charm, right? The good luck charm.
Right.
It could be that she was pregnant and lost the baby. So
Oh,
that
that's
could
true.
be a theory
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you
I
think?
hadn't thought about that.
I mean,
Um,
I hadn't either until just now.
yeah. Once I kind of got through it and realized what was happening and that kind of thing,
Mhm,
that was where I was leaning is like, okay, that's what they wanted her to do. And then when Rosemary and Guy showed up, um, they were just better candidates.
mhm, mhm.
It would have been easier maybe. Because it did seem like
That's true.
Guy was benefiting. They pulled him in by his career getting better and him getting these roles and this kind of thing. So they were able to manipulate
Yeah.
him, and he was then able to help with them getting Rosemary
Mhm, mhm.
and Terry. They didn't have that, so um, that's kind of
That's
what I was
true.
thinking. But that's just my mind
Yeah,
wandering.
that's true because in the end, they do say that Satan chose her, like, all
Right.
along, it was everything was falling into place.
Yeah, so they could have
Yeah,
been trying to find someone and they thought maybe Terry, and then, Rosemary shows
mhm,
up and that's who Satan wanted. So we got to get rid of Terry.
yes, yes. I mean, isn't that a perfect sign of how good this movie is? Because we're talking about theories and what could have happened,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
behind the scenes. I think it's
Right.
a very intelligent, smart film, and maybe I should take a look at the book too. I guess if you read it, let me know.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it. I really, when I did my little list and got that I was going to do this first, that was actually my plan. I was going to get the book and read it, and then watch the film. And
Mhm.
it's just been so busy with work and that kind of stuff. I wasn't able to do that
Yes.
yet. But I'm interested to go back and reread it, maybe read the book now and then rewatch the movie, and see what I
Yes.
think. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you again so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I hope you'll come on again in the future. But you want to plug your channel and everything going on again one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Sean. This has been fantastic. I had a great time
Yeah, I
chatting with you.
appreciate
We'll
it.
have to do it again soon.
Good.
Yeah, so lastly, A and B horror movies on YouTube. So that's AB horror movies. We're also on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram also at Aaron's Movies 8587. And there you have
Very
it.
good. Yeah, go give Aaron a follow. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about Rosemary's Baby. I want to know if you share Aaron and I's opinion on it. Do you enjoy it? If you don't, what do you not like about it? But yeah, I really appreciate the interaction. So leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. I am on social media as well: Blue Sky, Instagram, X, TikTok, Sean's Horror Corner. You can find me just about every place. So yeah, give me a follow. I try to follow back as much as possible, and I will be back in a few days, and we will talk about House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie movie. So we're going to check that one
Oh,
out here in a couple of
cool.
days. So
Very
yeah, I'll
exciting.
see everyone soon.
Awesome. Thank you.